Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to escape the hustle, build a business that works probably without you, then you're going to want to pay attention to this episode. Let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, business bros. Now, he started as a freelance writer and rose to the top of the company that helps entrepreneurs turn everyday spending into freedom. With laser focus, working smarter, he's here to show you how to scale without stress, building systems that set you free, and then travel the world on your business's dime. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Travis Cormier. Get this party started. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. That's probably the most fun intro that I get anywhere. So,
hey man, it's got you smiling. Then we're doing the right thing here. All right, Travis, let's get this thing on the road. Tell me a little bit about your background. How'd you get here? How'd you get to the point where you're helping entrepreneurs live their best life?
Yeah, man, it's been a journey. I actually started as a chemist and was just trying to find a way to make some extra money. I worked overnights. And like everyone else would nap or play video games or watch YouTube. And I said, can I just make money while I'm sitting here at work doing nothing? And so I stumbled into freelance writing, specifically in the travel side and points and miles, and did that for a few years. Kept telling the founder of the company, like, you want to go all in? Like, stop making this just a little hobby business and go full time. Just, I don't know, let me know. I'll quit my job. And what? One day he called me and said, hey, I just quit my job. You want to come be my number two? So
there you go.
I was definitely a little nervous. It was a big jump, but I got home and my wife told me, don't be a fucking idiot. These opportunities don't come around that often. And you're a chemist in Houston. You can go get another job in 6 weeks if it crashes or burns.
All right, Travis. So we've established you're the kind of crazy that most entrepreneurs need to be in order to establish themselves and get themselves going. So you take that entrepreneurial risk, quit the day job, you got the support, and you're moving forward. If you have other entrepreneurs that are in similar situations, maybe they're getting started, maybe they have a little side hustle, they're thinking about that next step. What was it that took you to that mentality where you were like, okay, I'm ready to quit this and move forward? And how can you relate that to like other entrepreneurs in that similar situation? How can you make it work for them?
Man, it's scary. Like that's the hardest thing, is realizing that it's just a mental and emotional block, right? You're used to living life one way. You're used to living with a regular W-2 paycheck that's coming from someone else, and having to overcome that and accept the risk of jumping in. But like, if you're not willing to accept that risk when the timing's right? It's a calculated risk that you're making, but like, you're going to have to accept risks throughout your business journey. You're going to have to place bets and hope with the most information you can that they're going to pay off. So it really is that first step that you have to take to just fully commit to be able to scale it up from something small to something that's actually going to be a business.
Now, I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of people in general. They work really well under pressure. When their back's against the wall, that's when the best version of them comes out. That being said, when your back's against the wall, you also make a lot of mistakes, and there are a lot of things that end up going wrong. Even if you have the best plan in the world, it doesn't always go according to plan. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs make, maybe when their back's against the wall, or maybe when they're getting ready to scale? What are some of those common mistakes you see people making that you wish like you can put a little pause button and help them avoid it?
Yeah, the biggest mistake that I know I've made myself is focusing on everything instead of focusing on the wildly important. Like, what's the one thing that you can do that's going to create the most value for your business? And when you're new, it's hard to figure that out. So you're just taking a shotgun approach and trying everything and hoping something sticks. But when you find something that sticks, you've got to pivot and say, this is the one thing. This is the thing that's going to skyrocket us. For us, that was paid ads. We were trying so much, and our paid ads, we sat down and looked at it and realized we were getting $8 in return for every $1 we made on paid advertising. So instead of sending money to 17 different things, we took every dollar that we had and poured it into those paid ads. And that is what gave us about 1,300% growth over 3 years, because it's that one thing. It's working. We found what works. Now lean into that and embrace that. And it's scary because it feels like you're putting all of your eggs into one basket.
There are so many entrepreneurs. I'm gonna pause you right there because I think it's so important. There are so many entrepreneurs who get to the point where will have this thought in their mind all the time. It's like, if I can get this one client, I'll be good. If I could just get, clients coming in on a regular basis, I'll be good. You got to that point. You turned your paid ads on. You're getting to the point where 1,300%. That's a huge increase. There's a lot of founders who find themselves in a situation where now they become the bottleneck. All of a sudden, you thought what you originally thought was the solution now becomes a big problem. Walk me through that. You get to a point where 1,300% increase in business coming in. Could you handle it? And what was your biggest concern?
The biggest concern was losing it all. It was crazy. Like that is a crazy time to go through whenever you enter that first growth phase of your business, right? And you might think you've entered that first growth phase because you're seeing a little bit, but until that hockey stick hits, like, you're not actually in the chaos of a growth phase. And what happens is you become the bottleneck because you realize anytime a decision needs to be made, people are coming to you. If you go on vacation, revenue dips. So in that case, you haven't really built a business. And this is normal. This is natural to go through. All you've done is built a high stress job for yourself. You have to, like, those triggers when everything in the business flows through you is when you are the bottleneck, and you have to systematize and build your business to handle those. So that way it's not dependent on you. And that takes a lot of trust. Like, that was probably one of the hardest things to do, because you know how to do it. But in reality, I'm not an expert at ads. It just happened to work for us. So we went and hired someone to run our ads for us who knows what they're doing and was able to take what we had done already and execute it even higher than we had. And that meant I'm no longer the bottleneck behind ads. I'm not having to worry about it. They're just executing and getting it done for us.
All right. So one key thing I'm catching here is when you realize that you are not the expert in the space, you need to start expanding and finding a team member that is an expert in that space. Now, part of that for entrepreneurs is releasing and letting go. Their name's on the billboard. They've put all their blood, sweat, and tears at this point. You're handing over responsibility to somebody that they may or may not be as successful or as dedicated as you are. And that's just one system that you're putting in place, or one person that you're putting in place. As entrepreneurs get to this hockey stick level, what systems should they be thinking about putting in place? Where do they go first? What part do they replace on themselves in this business so that they can hopefully start getting some of their time back and enjoy this business they originally enjoyed doing at the beginning?
Yeah, the way that I do it is I still do this about once a year. I just do a work audit of myself. So instead of trying to say, here's what you should stop doing, because it's going to be different for everyone, spend a week and just write a list of all of the work that you do, every single task, every single project, everything you're doing, write it down, and then take that list and go through it. And first ask yourself, do we need to be doing this? Is this something we can just stop doing? If not, and we need to continue, okay, am I good at it? Am I actually good at doing this, or am I just the only person who's done it? And everything that doesn't fall as an item that you are exceptionally good at, there you go. You've found your list to start delegating and handing off to other people. And systematizing it that way helps give you that clarity around the impactful work that you do that actually drives value. So when you remove the work that doesn't, you're left with just the most high value work that you are providing.
Any helpful tips on trying to get what you do instinctively in your mind into somebody else's mind so that they can do it at a similar or maybe better level than you are?
Yeah, I mean, it's the boring part of business that no one, especially when you're going through that growth, really wants to do. But it's about documenting it, and it doesn't have to be hard. We use two tools to do it. We use Loom and we use Tango. So Loom, literally just records your screen. So as you're doing something, hit the button, it records it, narrate what you're doing throughout. It explains the purpose, etc. But now with their AI features, it can generate an SOP for you. So you're not trying to type everything up, think it, you're just doing it and it produces it for you. The other tool, Tango, that we use, it's similar, but it uses screenshots to do it. So it really just kind of depends on your flavor. Do you want more screenshot heavy? Do you want more of the video with the written documentation? But just like, don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be harder than it is.
Man, it's 2026. Those tools are making things so much easier.
Yeah.
You have literally no excuse why you can't create an SOP. I don't like to type. I don't like to spell. Nah, none of that even exists anymore. Like, yeah, I don't like to do screenshots. No, just do the work and trust me. The AI will come right behind you and create those SOPs. Now, that's instinctively moving essentially from a COO to a CEO, right? Chief Operating Officer, where you're doing all the day-to-day stuff, to now becoming a CEO where you're more like a leader, making some of these bigger executive decisions and guiding the company in a certain direction. What has that transition taught you as far as leadership and legacy, just moving from the operating side to the execution executive side?
Yeah, it's been a big mindset shift. It's been from, as COO, I was asking myself, how do we execute this properly? Not just for now, but for the future of the business. And instead, my mindset is having to change to, where are we going and does this matter? I have to stop obsessing over the checklist and the work being done and trust the other leaders in my organization and my new COO to execute that work and be sure that it's getting done to deliver the results, so it can free up the space for me to have the focus to be looking forward and outwards from the business.
Let me ask you about that little mindset shift, because I mentioned it earlier, letting go of the responsibility that you did before and handing it off to someone. There is definitely a mindset shift that has to go there, because nobody's going to care about your business the way you care about it. Nobody's going to do the work the way you would do the work. And yet you still, in order for you to grow, have to let go of that and still have that, that I don't know, internally it's going to bother you, but you sort of let go and let go. I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe are looking for that first person they're going to bring on board, or maybe that second person they got to release that responsibility. I know it's going to take over. It's going to take time, but can you kind of give somebody some kudos or things that they can put in their mind where that release of responsibility is a little less stressing than it I guess traditionally would be?
Man, it's so funny because I've seen it from both sides, right? I was the COO trying to get my CEO to do that, and now I'm the CEO trying to do it myself. And I remember, as the COO, just get out of my way, just stop. Like, let me do this. This is why you hired me. And now as CEO, I'm trying to not be in those weeds, and it fucks with my head a little bit sometimes, for sure. And the way that I have found it the most successful is just being sure that you're aligned with your COO, right? Like, they are a partner. They are not, don't view them as an employee, view them as a partner. They are there to execute your strategic vision for the company, and have that mindset, enable them. Because if you don't enable them and actually empower them to do that, you're just going to be stepping on their toes and not letting them do the work that you're paying them to do. That partnership requires finding the right person. Don't just go and hire any COO or anyone to do it because you like them. It needs to be someone who's the yin to your yang. So if you're really good at finance, right, you can keep finance. You're a small business. Like, you're still going to have some as CEO. But where are your weaknesses? If your weaknesses are in building sustainable systems, find someone who already has proven that they can do that. So you're going to go into it with the inherent trust that they're able to do the work that you're not good at. And that's going to allow for them to really thrive and pull more and more off of your plate.
Yeah, I feel like over time, as long as you're communicating with those partners and you're focused on the direction that your company wants to go in, everything kind of falls in line. You realize what they're doing and the extra steps that they're taking that you never even would have thought of, just because that's their expertise and not your expertise, is going to make things a lot easier. Now, that doesn't always, especially for a CEO, make the business feel smoother. There's still going to be all kinds of fires that get to put out. There's all kinds of chaos. When you're making that transition, or maybe you've already made that transition and you're managing people and you're running teams, what's the fastest way to kind of regain clarity, regain control when things start to feel chaotic, when the fires are blazing everywhere and you might end up like me, ripping your hair out or something? How do you kind of regain that clarity and control?
I regain that by setting us up for that clarity from the start, so that when those fires come, I know when it gets to me that it's already processed for everyone else. And how we do that is a simple decision matrix. We kind of go through the big tasks and responsibilities and delegate those, but don't just delegate the tasks, delegate the authority behind them as well, right? And what I mean by that is be clear on, hey, you do this and I don't even need to know about it. If you do this, that's cool, just keep me in the loop. The next level, like 4 levels, the third level, you make the decision, but get my approval. And the fourth is, I own this. You always need to come to me with this. So like a good example of where this can work is with budgeting. Budget variances of 2%, you own that. Like, just make a decision. If it's 5%, make a decision and let me know. 10%, you come to me with the solution, but I need to approve it. And anything above 10%, that's my decision to make. So you set up these clear boundaries from the start. So when those fires are happening, it's pre-filtering out based off of the authority that you've delegated, not just the work that you've delegated.
So keep them in a box, but give them room in that box to do what they need to do. Just make sure you set the boundaries a little early. All right, well, let's talk about the fun stuff of getting into business, because let's be 100% truthful in this. I always think of businesses like when you get a lottery ticket. You buy that lottery ticket and you start imagining what life will be like when you win your money, right? What car you're going to drive, house, location, everything, vacations, all the stuff you're going to do. And I think when you get into business, it starts off that way. And then if you're lucky and you're successful, it gets even crazier and you still got to settle down somehow, some way. So how do we start maybe enjoying the perks of our business that we want to enjoy, but through maybe our business, so that we don't have to come out of pocket?
Yeah, this is what we really teach, is how to use your business expenses to fund specifically a travel lifestyle. If you're not a traveler, that's great. But your existing business expenses can already open up a world of travel to you. So you can get those lifestyle experiences without having to pay for them. So all of the expenses that you have in your business, if you can put those on credit cards, especially reward cards, you're going to build up points. And those points you can use for travel. And I don't just mean like, you're going to fly to Omaha, right? We've got business owners going to Europe, flying first class around the world, staying in crazy places. And it's all because of their business expenses. They're not paying anything extra out of pocket. They're just leveraging the expenses that their business already has and getting this extra return. And that's a way to think about it, is like, it's an extra 2 or 3% of margin that you can get for your own personal use without adding any additional costs. It's just shifting how you're paying for your expenses.
Now, let me get this straight, because I think I do this in my own personal life. For many, many years, I used the envelope accounting system, because that's where you start off with. You take your money when you get paid, you put it in envelopes, and that's how you budget. As I got a little more sophisticated, I started using my debit card. And then I was like, why am I using my debit card? I should use a credit card to run all my bills, and then I get some points on that. And now it works, because every once in a while I'll fly out and my flights are free. Every once in a while I'll go get a gift card in the mail from a particular company. Maybe I have points that I use for whatever. I'm not really spending any extra. There is some responsibility as an individual to make sure you're not using your credit card too much. But for the most part, it's just the bills that are being paid out that I'm getting that extra benefit. You're saying I should do the same thing for a business?
Absolutely. Like, you're just doing the exact same thing for the business, and all of those same rules and responsibilities apply. It's a terrible debt mechanism. You don't want to go into debt on a credit card, because you're going to pay probably the highest interest you will anywhere else. But if it's money you were already planning to spend, then just spend it from the credit card and then pay off the credit card. And now you're getting those points back as a return on it for the money you were going to spend anyways to fund the lifestyle that you want, especially if you're early stages in your business and you're working on building those margins and improving those. It lets you tap into some of those lifestyle improvements already.
Well, speaking of tapping, and it's not necessarily the same kind of tapping, but I noticed that on some of these cards, the points the point structure tends to differ based on how you end up purchasing things. So like if I go into, I don't know, Walgreens, for example, I walk in and I physically hand them my card, maybe I get like a 1%. If I tap my card, I get like a 2%. If I use the purchase on the app, I get like a 3%. So should I be like modifying how I'm purchasing these things, or maybe which cards I'm using to kind of maximize my rewards?
Yeah. Yes. Is the clear answer. What I would say, especially for business owners though, is you've got a lot going on. And so trying to perfectly maximize these is probably going to take more time than the value of your time is worth. So really, you can kind of simplify it in a few ways. The easiest one for business owners is, what are your top 2 or 3 business expenses? If you have a fleet company, it's probably gas. If you are an online agency, it's probably digital marketing. So just look at your P&L and see, what are my top 2 or 3 expenses, and then find the cards that give you the highest return on those top 2 or 3 categories. So now you've got your travel card, your gas card. So when you book travel for work, put it on the travel one to get the highest return. You absolutely can go down the rabbit hole and try to optimize every single expense. And like, there are people that do that. I used to do that myself, but it just became not really worth my time versus saying, where can I get the best return on the 60-70% of most of the money that the business is spending?
And let's make this perfectly clear. We're not asking you to spend any additional cash. This is the normal expenses that you're already utilizing. You're going to pay this off anyways. If you used your debit card to pay your bills, you were just going to pay the bill off anyways without any extra bonus. So this is literally a strategy where you're just paying with a different card and you're still paying off your bills every single month, right? We're not trying to acquire new debt.
No, absolutely not. Like, you're just paying the expenses that you already had. But, and to be fair, like, accounting is not a strength of mine, but I do know one of the advantages for business owners too is it does give you some more flexibility in your cash flow. Because if you're paying with a debit or ACH, that cash is leaving your account right now. And especially if, maybe you're being paid net 30, net 60, so your cash isn't coming in until later. Well, if I put that expense on a credit card now, that statement closes in 15 days. I don't have to pay that statement until another 30 days. So I've bought myself a 45-day window of cash flow for the expense that I'm already making. So it can help streamline, especially if you're early and that cash flow is coming in waves instead of being stable. So you can kind of smooth those expenses out over time. And as long as you pay it before the next statement closes, there's not going to be interest on it.
No, in fact, you probably end up plus 1, 2, 3%, depending on the card and the point structure that you end up with. What about lines of credit. So I know that there are some line of credits that have additional point structures built in. Maybe the financing on that is a little bit better. Obviously for this, we're talking about the best point structure possible, but do you see that within lines of credit as well? Like for businesses versus a credit card?
I'll just be radically honest with everyone. Like that's not our area. I can't really speak to lines of credit. If someone out there does know and they want to use that as an opportunity to comment and engage, I would love to learn from you on utilizing those lines of credit to earn points too, because it's effectively the same thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's cool. Like if we don't know a certain area, that's the beauty of having experts in different spaces. It makes a huge difference. All right. Well, Travis, if people want to reach out to you, they want to find out more about what it is you do, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can come to our website, 10xtravel.com. We've got a free course that kind of gives you the crash course on earning points from credit cards, how to use them for travel. We've also got a community on Facebook, the 10x Travel Insiders Facebook group. There's over 400,000 people in there obsessing about this. So if you have a question, I promise you they have an answer. Those are going to be the best ways to find us and learn more about this.
What's the coolest, craziest story you've had from a client that you've worked with? Kind of tell me where they ended up going, what they ended up doing, where they were.
Probably the craziest story is we've helped clients book like 6 to 8 month round the world trips, all in flying business and first class, staying at 5-star hotels. So, they'll go from the US to Japan to Thailand to the Maldives to Dubai to Europe to South America, and like just go see the world with the points that they've gotten. And like you do have to pay taxes on that, but like if you were putting something like that together out of pocket, you're talking $30, $40, $50,000. Most of these people are paying $1,000 or less to take these, and it really is just incredible seeing what people can unlock from just money they were already spending anyways.
Dude, I mean, that's crazy. 6 to 8 months. Look, ladies and gents, we started off talking about growing your company and helping you scale because we want you to make as much money as possible. That means money's coming in, and obviously you have expenses with money going out. And all we're saying now is when you get that money to go out in a cool, different way where you're acquiring additional points. And then we take those extra points from the business you're already operating and you go live life and you go experience things in ways that you probably never thought you could afford simply because you're changing the way you're doing your day-to-day payment structure. So if you want to learn more about how to do this sort of stuff, if you want to learn about taking your business, helping it grow a little bit, but really expensing your stuff so you earn some points, go to 10xtravel.com, 10xtravel.com. Travis and his team are going to show you how they help people change their travel like in ways you wouldn't imagine simply because it doesn't have to come out of your pocketbook as much. Travis, if we have any last minute questions and we go to your website, what are we going to find?
You're going to find a ton of content on there. We also have a web tool, My 10X. That's where our course lives. And that's where people are going to find just tools to simplify this and make it easy. If you're just trying to wonder what card is right for me, it'll automatically recommend one, just trying to make it as easy as possible.
I'm excited, dude. And when people head over there, like what's their time frame? I'm gonna pay my bills next month. I want to get started. Like, how quickly can somebody like learn something and start making a move?
I mean, you could start today. All you've got to do is open a card. It's as simple as that. Start by opening your first and using that while you're learning. And as you learn, you'll be able to better optimize. But like, don't let perfection stop you from getting started. And I mean, that's not just with credit cards. That's just anything in business.
Perfect. Now, a couple comments on YouTube. Great information. Thanks. And then we got one that's kind of funny. He said, dude looks like he's 40, but sounds like he's 16 years old. I don't know if he's talking about me or you, but either way, I think we'll both take it as a compliment.
I'll take it.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 10xtravel.com, 10xtravel.com. Learn how to pay your bills using credit cards. Get the points that you're looking for so that you can travel. If you're in business right now, you got expenses coming out every single day. If you're using your debit card to pay your expenses, congratulations. But if you use a credit card, you can definitely do some cool stuff. Talk to your accountant, see how you can float your cash flow a little bit better. And at the same time, maximize some of those points so you can go out and travel the world and enjoy the life that you designed and the whole reason you got into business in the first place. So learn your money, get it right. 10xtravel.com. Travis, thank you very much. Any final thoughts before we head out?
Oh, thanks for having me. This was probably like one of the most fun podcasts I've been on. And if you're talking about me looking like I'm 40 and sounding like I'm 16, I'll take the sound like I'm 16. Maybe someday I'll catch up to look my age.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, ladies and gents, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today.